This is the return of NOODLE. Welcome back to the channel, guys. It is Dr. Dead Internet. Thank you for joining me today. Today we're gonna go back to where we left it last time. Still on Lourdes High School. For those of you who are new here, we just spent 8 episodes investigating into an AI generated school. We started at AI bots on Instagram who were having weird comments and weird posts, interacting with each other, and they were quite obviously bot accounts. A minority of them actually acted as if they all went to the same school, which I found really peculiar. And this was from stuff like their images, they had it in their bios, and they even had stories. Uh, this school, so obviously as I was investigating, I investigated into this school's webpage. The school webpage had a ton of fake imagery, AI red flags, and just in general, just loads of things were off on a regular basis. So what we did is we dug even further. We went back to the 2020 version of this webpage and also the 2015 version of the webpage. The reason we did that was to try and see if how long this has been going on for. Obviously, AI image generation, video generation technology wasn't as good back then. So my thinking was that it'd be more obvious back then, or it'd be non-existent back then. So after some digging, we did find AI red flags, and on the 2015 version of the webpage, we found what you're looking at right now, which is NOODLE. This is NOODLE, who we're going to get into later on. Now, don't worry, you don't have to take my word for it. So this video is going to be about going through all the evidence from beginning, middle, and end. End being this. This is like a little sneak peek, but I think it's really important to show you guys how I got to this point. This could just be, an art project or something. So I want to prove to you guys that it's not. And yeah, if you haven't already, I really appreciate a subscribe. This is going to be the front lines of the war of digital reality. Digital reality is dead. I'm not sure if you've noticed. We should no longer trust anything that's on our screens anymore, especially with an untrained eye. What I intend to do, or at least my goal is to train your eyes to help you sort of identify AI generated content. Most people are blind to this sort of thing, right? You may think that you can spot an AI generated content from a mile away. I promise you can't. You don't know what you don't know. And I assure you, you've only hit the top of the iceberg when it comes to AI generated content and the stuff that you can do with the technology that we have at the moment. So yeah, you've hit the top of the iceberg. I'm going to take you down to the depths. And in future, this channel, I've got a few videos planned, a couple in production right now, and they are sort of not. We're investigating into influencers on Instagram, some with 150 plus thousand followers, with millions of views on their reels every day, and it's AI generated content, which I'm pretty sure 98% of the people that are following don't know this, probably more of a percentage. And also the other video I have it cooking up is also the rise of crypto scams with AI. Like I said, you shouldn't trust anything that you see on the internet, but what a lot of people are using AI for now is to depict these fake lives. So you see this guy who's got a Bugatti Veyron behind him or whatever, and you think, wow, this guy must know his stuff, he must know what's going on, and of course he's selling you a course, or he's selling you some sort of early access to some coin or whatever. And this is really common, and I think it's really important that the relevant information gets out there so people are protected from these types of scams and just fake content in general. So without further ado, let's get into some of the evidence so you know I'm not chatting up my arse. We're going to start off with, like I mentioned, the AI bot accounts that I mentioned. So this man here, this boy, he was commenting on a lot of videos, and I want to say that the way that I found these is when you find AI generated content, especially ones that are depicted to look real. So I'm talking like your Ring doorbell videos and your fights caught on camera, your police body camera videos. These are really common ones. And what you'll see a lot of the time is in the comment section, one smart ass will comment saying, "This is AI, guys, by the way." And there'll be a plethora, a brigade of these bot accounts that come to this comment section to reply to this person and just saying stuff like, "You've gone crazy, you don't know what you're talking about, I saw this photo ages ago, this can't be AI," stuff like that. They try and gaslight the person into believing that the photo is real or the video is real. And not only that, do they try and combat the person that's actually replied to the comment. I think that's not their primary goal. The primary goal is for anyone that's like, "Oh, is this AI? I'm not too sure. Let me look in the comments." And they see the AI, "Oh, this is AI comment." And they look at the replies. They see the comments outnumbered 10 to 1 by people saying that it is real. Then you know, they're gonna get away with it more often, right? And that's what I mean by the death of digital reality, is because we're being gaslit into thinking that some of this content is real, which I think is the biggest problem and the most scary thing, is whenever you see something that looks really good but is AI, I can almost guarantee 95% of the time that there will be a commenter saying that this is AI, and there will be replies under that comment saying that it isn't AI, and blah blah blah. But nevertheless, this is one of those accounts, and the first thing that comes, you know, jumping off the page is the hair. So if I zoom out here, or I'll zoom in here, this black line that my cursor's over, this is a completely disconnected hair. Alright, and as we zoom out and you zoom into it, you can see it a bit more clearly. I think maybe it's meant to be attached to this, but you can clearly see a hole there, right? Hair does not discontinue like that, even with a low quality image like this is, right? We go on just here, this man, his head, I can zoom in as far as I want, his head ends like here, but the collar seems to go out to here maybe, and then his shoulder line goes down quite rapidly. Quite a peculiar body, but you know, nevertheless. One more thing is the lamppost here. As you can see, it's in the background, but when you go to the top of the image, the lamppost is coming in front of the leaves, which of course is in the foreground. Very peculiar. And this person here is holding a sign as well, the main person. He's holding a sign that this right handle seems to go into the ground. Now, if you've played around with AI generated imagery and video generation, you'll know that this happens a lot when the AI just confuses itself and thinks it goes up to about here and realizes, "I've forgotten what this is. I don't know what this is. I'm just going to put it in the ground. It must be some sort of pole." Right? This is quite common, and this is a huge red flag. A few other things is over here. The reflections are duplicated. With the reflection from a stationary point like we are here, it should just be a continuous reflection going across. The fact that there's 3 lights that are the same in the same place, kind of peculiar. But hey, not the most hard evidence, I will admit. But we move on, because that moves us on to so this guy, I think indirectly actually was a part of this school. But this is Lourdes High School, which is what a lot of the accounts were framing to be from. They were interacting with each other, they're commenting on each other's posts, and blah blah blah. This is the main landing page, and what I want to take your attention to is this main image here, which I've lovely snipped. And as we go here, look, first of all, like I said, to an untrained eye, this is just a normal photo, right? Most 99.9% of people aren't going to look at this photo for this long as we've looked at it. Well, as the more you go in, the more things you start to notice are weird. This lady's hand is doing some weird stuff, right? This index finger is kind of messed up. But the main thing that really kick-started this strong belief that this was not real was Fred over here. I don't know his name, but we'll call him Fred. Fred is squatting, and his legs are just all over the place. I see grey trouser, black shoe, but a brown shoe there, and then this is his cloak and a brown shoe's coming out of it, but then there's also a black shoe back here, and then there's a brown shoe here as well, but there's no one standing directly behind him, right? If there was a brown shoe here, maybe there might be someone here, but there's not. Right, you see that? So this is a common red flag with AI imagery. It's called duplication. It's when, especially with big images like this, you know, the processing gets fucked up or whatever, and it will panic, is the way that I can only phrase it. It panics. It knows there should be feet here. It knows there should be shoes here, but it just messes up the color, or just has a bit of a hiccup, basically. And it'll put all the right stuff in the area, but it'll duplicate it, it'll put it in the wrong area, and it'll blur it as well, is another common one. It will try and make it unnoticeable. What I did just notice is, like, what's going on with this foot here? This black line. Right? But yeah, this is quite obvious a dead giveaway. No one has, I see 5 feet here. No one has 5 feet. And there's no one stood directly behind him, unless there's someone like directly behind this girl and we just can't see him whatsoever, and he's also kicked his foot underneath this guy squatting, because who would put their foot right underneath someone who's squatting? It'd be very difficult to get that sort of angle. But we move on, because believe it or not, a lot of people saw that and didn't believe me, which is fair enough. I think it's good to be skeptical. We go on to the video. I've lovingly, let me just get my timestamps up. I've lovingly done some timestamps here, so we can skip to the good bit. Let's skip to the good bit. We go to, first of all, I want to do the intro shot. I want you to have a look at the windows on this aerial shot here. Just give it a minute to catch up. Boom. Boom. That's good. Right. So from the shadows, we can infer that the sun is behind the building right now, because the shadows are going to the bottom left of the screen, right? Bottom left, bottom left, bottom left. It's all going towards the bottom left. So we can infer quite heavily, actually we know that the sun is behind the building. It doesn't explain why there's reflections on the windows. So there's reflections. From my understanding of light, is when something's not got any light on it, i.e. it's in shadow, it shouldn't have any reflections, because there's no light bouncing off of it. Right? I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You know, these bottom windows are pitch black, but, you know, the two up here have got sort of like a cloud reflecting off of it, and then this just has some weird stuff reflecting off it. I wouldn't be mad if you could see inside the building. And even here, you know, it's harder to tell because there's no shadows, so you don't know where the sun is, and I think they've edited the sky out, or the sky is just white, you know. But this just looks wrong. We go on. to, you know, you can go through this video yourself if you want to go through the whole thing. There's AI red flags throughout this whole fucking video. But I just wanted to go through the main parts. This DNA strand is really messed up. Don't know. It just doesn't look right to me, right? This is a science class as well, so it should look right. But there's only one turn in it. And I think this is a sort of a shape or design that AI would really struggle with making, because it has to take into account depth and twisting, which it's just not good at doing. Alright, this is the main one. I want you to watch his left hand. He's going to grab these yellow things. He's going to grab the yellow thing on the right, so this bottom one. And I want you to see what happens to the one on the top. You see that? We'll play that one again because this is really important. Again, this is a common video generation glitch. Is when a character is pulling something, sometimes things just get pulled with it. The AI fails to realize that things are unattached and attached. It for some reason has problems with that. And you know, this is a literal maybe 2 frames, right? We're watching this at 0.25 speed. That's about 2 frames, so it's not like they expected anyone to notice. We move on. This is 1:09 on the clock. This is what I wanted to put attention to is the stained glass in the background. Now, I'm not sure if my webcam's actually covering this. I hope it's not. But if you can see this, this is some feet pasted into the stained glass. Bare feet. Look, AI does this a lot. When it panics, sometimes it puts the most random things in, whether paintings or artwork or just setting in general. Sometimes it just does shit like this. It puts feet in, because it's just, again, it panics, it glitches, and it just goes to something that it knows, I believe, is my understanding of it. But I want to ask a question which will make this more plausible. What is more plausible in your mind? This is an AI generated video where the background has been messed up and it's just put some feet there. Or someone who makes stained glass has decided to put some bare feet in this stained glass when all of the rest of it is sort of abstract art, right? That is just shapes and colours. But this pane right here is going to be feet. Right? What's more plausible to you? Because to me, I've never seen anything like that in stained glass. Nothing. We move on to 1:21 on the clock. This is like the college room, I guess, where they're talking about going to university. And you can see some famous university or colleges, American colleges at the top. So you got your Idaho, Clemson, UCLA, and a Navy. But I think that's behind my face cam. I do apologize. This is quite important, so I'm gonna let me move me down. I'm at the bottom now. Right. This will be worth it. So you see Navy at the top now. If you want to turn your head like this and like read Navy, you can tell that the lettering is morphing, is molding, is bending, whatever you want to call it. Now I want you to remember that these are banners, right? These are flags designed to get your attention and for you to notice the college that is trying to market, I guess, or advertise. So let's look at some of the ones that don't make sense. First of all, this black one here, it says BEMOLA state, Bemola state. And this one here, you can read college, but it's sort of in a weird font where it's like a captcha test, right? All of the lettering is kind of messed up. And then to the next one, you have Coast Guard. Now, Coast Guard isn't a university, to my understanding. It's not a college. And I believe it's made this mistake because Navy does have a university, technically. It has an American football team anyway, a college football team. So I assume it has a university. And that's where I think Coast Guard has come from. You know, and keep in mind that the smaller ones that you can't read are, you know, non-existent universities, and this big one is Coast Guard. Right? So that's wrong. And also you got this black and yellow one ending in Kosh, it looks like, but the H at the end, if that's a H, is unreadable. Some of this is unreadable. I want to take your attention now to the reflection as well. This is a Utah banner. You can quite clearly make out that that's Utah, or meant to be Utah. But then there's two banners next to it that you can't make out. Now that doesn't make sense. Don't get me wrong, this is really good video generation where it's actually got a good reflection, and it's worked really hard on this part of the reflection, just because that it knows that's what's going to catch your eye, and it's going to see that reflection and go, oh, it's got a reflection, it must be real. But when you go deeper into it and you see this, and you're like, you can't make out what that is, despite it being right next to the Utah. I think that's weird, and it's a common AI red flag. Yeah, we move on. 1:43 on the clock. This is a Spanish class. This is Spanish Scrabble. First of all, the Scrabble rulebook is all messed up. There's like random 2s here and 2s here. There's a random 3 here for some reason. But, you know, they might just be playing Rogue Scrabble or whatever. But this lady is about to put down HSATE, which is Hasate, not a Spanish word. I double checked, it's not a Spanish word. And then she's going to move her arm in a second. She's going to reveal a bombaclat, a P, and then she's going to reveal an E-E-R, spelling peer, not a Spanish word. Now I want you to go into the footsteps of Spanish teacher here, Mr. Clapp. Imagine you got a camera crew in your class and you're doing this fun exercise of Scrabble with Spanish words, and this lady starts putting up Hasate. You'd be like, are you trying to get me to lose my fucking job? You know, there's a fucking camera crew right there. Sort yourself out. Put a real Spanish word, like hola or something. You know, I think that's really unrealistic that, you know, a camera crew would come in and they'd make such a mistake like that, try and get away with it. Same rules apply with this. I want you to imagine there's a camera crew come into your class. You're a woodworking teacher, right? They're like, just do your normal thing. We're just showcasing like the best bits of the school. First of all, I don't need to say anything, but just watch this girl cut this. Right? If you've done video generation, you know what that is. But yeah, you're the teacher. Camera crew's in. You've got to show off your skills, what you're doing in your class. And this is what they come up with. Alright, I'm going to slide in my scissors, and that's it. Done. Fucking perfect. I don't even know what that's attempted to do. But what I do know is sometimes with little tasks with the hand, especially, we all know that AI is really hit or miss when it comes to fingers. And especially using fingers to do things, whether it's writing, using scissors. And I think it's just sort of bailed on the prompt, and it's just gone, I'm just going to slide in the scissors here. And that's as good as it gets. Right, there is no reason to leave those scissors there. Another side note is I don't know who puts their earphone over their shoulder. I feel that it's really dangerous for woodworking, first of all. And I just don't think that would stay on your shoulder for a long period of time. We move on, probably to the last one, which is at 213. Oh no, not 213, 227. Sorry. So again, same sort of concept of the small actions with the fingers. Really struggles with doing tasks with fingers and stuff like that. This lady's gonna cut this meat. It's gonna go into a close up, and I want you to watch closely and tell me if you think it looks like a real cutting action. Right? So we'll go for it one more time. She tries to pull on it, it doesn't go anywhere, and then she's just going to cut it forward like this, but for some reason there's going to be blood that splats out onto it somehow. I think that's a pretty red flag, but fair enough. You might still be on the side of, oh no, this is kind of bullshit, right? And if you think that, I don't know why you're still here. But if you are still here, it gets better. I've got the killer piece of evidence here that I wanted to go through with you. So as I mentioned in the intro, we moved through to the 2020 version of the web page. Now, on the 2020 version of the web page, I went through the activities and athletic part. At this part, you can see the sports that they do and blah, blah, blah. But actually, if you click on these, you see a picture of the team that's representing the school, I guess, or whatever. And it's the exact same on the 2020 version of the web page. What's weird, so let's pull it up. This is at 100%. It looks pretty normal at a far enough distance, right? We move in, we'll full screen it. See if you see anything weird now. Again, not too bad. But we'll zoom in. Oh! Sorry. We'll zoom in and we'll go across every single one of their faces. What was that? Sorry. Okay. So this is something I want you to notice, is these black dots around the eyes. This is where the AI's fail to locate where the pupil should be. At a distance, you would never notice, right? At a distance, you'd never notice, but as you zoom in, you can clearly see there's a black spot there. That doesn't happen with normal cameras. Move on. Again, black spot in the eye. Black spot on the eye. Black spot on the left of the eye. This guy's really... his eyes are just messed up. Really squinted eyes, but you got weird black things on like the side of the eyes. And this guy over here, don't know what's going on. But we go to the main ones. You know, there's some realistic looking people. These two, I mean, let's zoom out and just look at, you know, these two people. Even from afar, I think these two are the most obviously generated people. From afar, just comparing them to everyone else, like just broaden your eyes and if I saw this person in the street, I would shit myself. Probably shit and piss myself. This is like it's a humanoid. This is no human. And we move on. Another guy I want to talk about is this guy, the guy in the middle. You could argue that he just doesn't like to have a tan. Fair enough. He's a very white individual. But I want to take your attention to the two people to the left and right of him. This is a white person, right? Very, very quite white. Yeah, and I feel like I'm one to talk, right? These are my people. Again, very white skin, very white body. This person is like like eggshell white. This isn't human skin white. This is, compared to everyone else, a bit peculiar. And then you zoom out, and and then you look at him and like compare him to everyone else. You're like, what's gone wrong with his arms? Like they're just white. So that's definitely a fuck up. And then also this kid's wrist, this arm is sort of shortened, right? Sort of like this, and you can't really see his wrist at all. This guy's nostrils is messed up. This guy I wanted to talk about because he's got a sad face. Quite a distinctive sad face. And I mean, like the drooping eyes as well. So that's something I wanted to mention. You're going to see this a lot in the background characters now, is drooping eyes. You can probably see it with this guy, drooped eye. This guy doesn't have eyes. This guy's missing an eye, missing an eye. Right? So again, very sus. Load of AI red flags. And I don't think this is arguable against, right? This is quite clearly generated content. If you think these are humans, I question your humanity. Because I don't know if you've ever met, like, I don't know how old these people are supposed to be. They don't look human. This guy in particular frightens me because I've got a theory behind this whole conspiracy, which will be in part 2 of what I think this is. Trying to put a picture together with the puzzle pieces that I have, the very few puzzle pieces that I have. And that will be in part 2. But there's more, because obviously at the start of this video, I mentioned there was more, and we went back further to 2015. The reason I did that is because, believe it or not, people still question. They still question whether this was real or generated. They had their reserves. And they said things like, it could be a processing error. It's bad quality anyway. But I don't know about that. Anyway, I did some more digging. So I went back to the 2015 version of the webpage, and that's when we found this. This is on the landing page of the 2015. And you can go look at this if you want. Just go on the Wayback Machine, type in the URL, which I'm sure you've seen. And you can find this unedited photo. The only editing I've done is these arrows, which I don't know why I did, but I think I was just hyped or something, and I didn't want to lose this or whatever. But yeah, this is Noodle Arm, sorry. And that's sort of where I ended. That's where I scared myself to death. This is where I sort of moved myself away from this because it was getting a bit too real. We went too far down the rabbit hole and we found this. But I'm back now. I've grown some balls. I'm ready to take Noodle Arm on. I don't care what he is, who he is, where he comes from. Actually, I do care about all those things. I want to know. But I'm not scared of him anymore. But I don't blame you if you are, because what the fuck is it? What is that? You know, you can make out an eyeball here. There's like a hole where, like an eye hole could go. And then these strands or noodles coming out for arms. I think it's pretty weird. I have a lot of theories as to what this is, what Noodle Arm is. I mean, he is a little cute patootie, isn't he? I reckon he's a nice guy. We got to know him. Yeah, but yeah, I have a lot of theories as to what this is. but I want to know what you guys think. I want you guys to put your theories in the comments below. Let me know. You might actually help me out here, because I've got this idea. I've got a lot of ideas as to what this all means, who's behind this. But like I said, I only have like 5% of the puzzle pieces, right? I think this grows a lot bigger than one school and one web page. This is a lot bigger than that, I think. I'm going to end this video here, because like I said, this is going to be part 1. I want to go into I want to have a full episode of me just talking about where I think this comes from, who I think is behind this, what I think this means for us, and other stuff. But I just wanted this video to be about like the evidence, I guess. I've got to move my webcam back up. I hope that didn't fuck anything up. But yeah, I really appreciate you watching. But like I said, please leave your comments below. If you're gonna be horrible to Noodle Arm, don't do it. He's actually a nice guy. Once you get to know him, Noodle Arm is a top player. But yeah, leave your comments below what you think this is. Who do you think is behind this? And yeah, let's fucking get to the bottom of this. Like I mentioned at the beginning, this is a beginning of more regular uploads. I've got a few things in the works, one in production. And we're going after some big hitters. I'm talking Instagram accounts with 150,000 plus followers, millions of views on a regular basis. And I've got hard evidence to support that they're not real, which I'm excited to release. So I'll leave it at that. I really appreciate your time, you taking your time out of your day to watch this. Please, like I said, leave a sub, leave a comment, leave a like, leave all that good stuff. Don't be mean to Noodle Arm. And stay safe. Have a good day. Bye.